you will always be reminded of what it was like when they weren't around and when you didn't have the possibility of having dinner with them. And yeah, this makes me very emotional. Hi everyone, I'm Kristina, and today we are going to talk about the biggest benefit of long distance relationships. So you're probably thinking that being in a long distance relationship is not a positive thing. And yes, it is true. Before we got married, my husband and I also had a long distance relationship. We spent about 1.5 years in long distance during our dating and engagement. I lived in Germany and he lived in the US, and we only saw each other every few months. And it was really hard, especially towards the end, especially in those last few months before the wedding. We really grew to love each other even more. We really craved that connection, and it was really hard. I just remember crying. I remember whenever James left to go back to the US and I knew I was not gonna see him for like 3 months, I was crying and I would call my mom like sobbing and telling her how much I missed James and how I really wished I could just see him every day. And I remember in that moment my mom telling me that, Kristina, I should just like record you on video right now, because when you're married and a few years from now you forget about this whole long distance thing, you live together, then I should show you that video and remind you how much you love James, how much you wanted to be with him, how much you just wanted the simple presence of him in your life and just in your day-to-day, and just him being in the same country as you. In the last 2 years of being married, we've been together every single day. Neither of us had to spend the night somewhere else, because I think we are really cherishing now the possibility of living together and being together and just doing life together now, because we know what it was like during the long distance dating and engagement and how hard it was, especially like for me as a woman. I think I experienced it a little bit more because I'm more emotional than James. Now looking back at the long distance relationship, I realize how precious it is what we have right now. And so I just want to make this video to encourage anyone out there who is in a long distance relationship or who knows someone who is in a long distance relationship, that if you really survive this long distance relationship and then there will be time when you will be finally together, then you can truly cherish this time and you can truly appreciate one another during this time, and you will never be able to take each other for granted, because you will always be reminded of what it was like when they weren't around and when you didn't have the possibility of having dinner with them. And yeah, this makes me very emotional. Okay. So all that to say, yes, long distance relationships are hard, and there may be some crying and you may be crying and you may be feeling lonely, but also take the time to just remember how you feel right now, because it will really bless your marriage and bless your future relationship when you do have the possibility of being together and living together. You will remember how much you wanted to be with him. You'll remember how much you cherish times with him and how much the times without him hurt. You'll be reminded of that, and that will like strengthen your marriage or your future relationship. So the biggest benefit of having had a long distance relationship in the past is that you can look back and you can see how much you really crave to spend time with him or her. And now when you are together every day, it reminds you not to take it for granted, and it reminds you to love him or her, and it reminds you to appreciate one another and to always be grateful for the gift of relationship that you share. Another big benefit of long distance relationships is that for Christians it does make things easier. So if you're long distance, you're obviously not going to be tempted as much because you don't have as much time together. And when you are together, you can make sure that you stay at parents' houses or at relatives' homes, and so then there's accountability. Long distance relationship make it easier to stay pure till marriage, because then you don't spend the time together, you are on opposite sides of the country or the world, and so there isn't as much temptation going on. Another big benefit of long distance relationships is that it forces you to talk, and it forces you to open up and to ask questions and to really plan out your life together if you intend to marry, and or even just talk a lot and see if they are marriage material. Because when you date someone in real life, you may go to the movies with them or you have all those fun experiences with them, but you may not actually ever get to talk about the real stuff, like what do you believe about Jesus, and what do you think about having kids, and how many kids you want to have. All those conversations have to happen while you're dating and while you're looking for a spouse. And long distance relationship provides a great opportunity for you to communicate about all of those things, because you have to communicate when you talk to each other over Skype or over Facebook Messenger. You have to communicate when you text one another, and so it really helps you to get to know the other person way better than if you were together all the time just watching Netflix or going to the movies or having all those fun experiences. And yes, those fun experiences are important, but when you decide on which person to marry or with which person you want to be, you have to really ask those questions, otherwise you'll be just wasting each other's time. And for Christians, we don't just date unintentionally, we date intentionally with the idea of getting married one day, if it is God's will and if it is the right person for us. And so for Christians, it is especially important to be intentional about asking those questions while you're dating, while you're in the relationship, because otherwise you'll be just wasting each other's time. Because what if you discover that you don't have the same religion, and as Christians we want to marry someone who is also a believer as we are, because that's what the Bible says. So anyway, all that to say, the three biggest benefits of long distance relationships are: first, that it makes you appreciate one another when you are done with long distance. Second, it helps you to stay pure till marriage. And third, it also teaches you how to communicate, and those are the skills you will really need in your marriage later on. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then give it a like, and if you want to see more videos like this one, then subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can receive notifications every time new video is posted. And if you can think of anyone in your life who is in a long distance relationship and might benefit from this video, then share it with them. Have a blessed day, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!